All right, welcome to episode 1 of the Field Cheddar Podcast. Just kidding, this is episode 0.
I'll say it's episode 0.
Welcome to episode 0 of the Field Cheddar Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Stuart, and this is my good friend,
Mikey V.
That's right. And we're going to be going over different kinds of camping and overlanding gear that we have used throughout our experience in adulthood, through starting with our time as veterans and different deployments and stuff like that. It's kind of shaped the way that we view gear, and we're going to be able to go over just some of the things that we've learned, some of the comical things that we've gotten into,
some of the hard
and then
ways.
exactly. And then we'll be going to transitioning into gear reviews and stuff like that on with episode 1. We decided not to do any gear for this episode, just so that the audience can kind of get to know everybody who's on the podcast.
Get to know our backgrounds, like why are we doing this, and what position are we doing it from?
Yeah, definitely. And our sponsor for the podcast is going to be your coffee company, Mortem Labs, which I've been stoked on for years now.
You have been an OG supporter.
Well, you told me that life is too short to drink cheap coffee.
That's right.
And the longer that I've been drinking your coffee, if I go even a matter of hours without it, it's like I'm starting to transition to living in a third world country. It's awful. So
it's the best compliment ever as a roaster, by the way.
Dude, it's so good. Like, your coffee makes a huge difference to me.
And that came, like you said, deployments. You know, one of the things like I could control on whether it was a Navy ship or a fob in Iraq or wherever was the quality of my coffee. I used to bring my own little kit, my French press, beans from home, and for me, taking that time to like not go to the mess deck and drink their instant crap or whatever. It was like to sit down and do a French press, and it was that piece, right? And it was like the hand grinding, the pressing, the process, and it was that ritual that kind of like, it was that piece in that moment, right? And then it's funny because I always joke and say, like, I remember the coffee from my deployments. Like, I remember the different like brands. Ken Hodges, one of our old instructors, when he had Island Roast coffees, he used to send me like 5-pound bags to take on deployments. And like, I remember just incredible craft roasted coffee, and it was a taste of home. And so that's why, to me, especially anything outdoors, camping, coffee is such a big part of that.
Oh man, I couldn't agree more. And I didn't even think about it. You just reminded me. I used to take Cafe Bustelo and a French press on Delete deployments.
Yeah.
Because the coffee on the Navy frigates was so bad.
And they make it even worse. The way they make it makes it worse. It's like you've taken shitty coffee and now you've like compounded it by making it wrong. So, because you could take really good coffee and make it wrong, and it comes out not as good, and I've even joked around, like, you can go to a cafe and it's not necessarily that a cafe will have bad coffee, it's that they made good coffee bad. Yeah. Right. But they make bad coffee worse.
Well, definitely. That was the beginning of my coffee journey, and that's really when I started to realize how important the water is, because it's made out of mostly water. So, like, you could, I was starting to figure out that it was better to use good water with cheap coffee than good coffee with cheap water.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. And water can definitely mess up your coffee, right? Same with,
for sure.
It's like cooking too. It's the same kind of thing, right? So, mortem-labs.com. And check it out. Right now, I just threw couple quick bags, kind of a fun bag, the Jersey Turnpike blend, which, if you're from up north, you know that a Jersey Turnpike shot is when you take all the bar mat liquor and you throw it together. Well, when we roast beans, we end up with like 3, 4, 5 pounds of each green bean left over. And when we change beans, like, I do 20-pound batches, there's nothing to do with those 4 pounds of green beans. So I take all those minimal pounds, mix them into a 20-pound batch. They call pre-blending, and I roast them all together. And it's kind of cool. It's very like experimental, and I come up with a neat profile. I always say, like, you never know what you're gonna get. It says on the bag, if you gotta ask what's in it, you shouldn't drink it. Because like, I can't tell you what the blend is, because it's like, I just put in like 3 pounds and I'm like, I need 17 more pounds. And then I grab another bag that's partially filled and I'm like, all right, 11 pounds. I need 9 more pounds. So anyway.
That's what I've been drinking every morning.
But people love it.
It's good.
Yeah,
it's
people
fantastic.
Love it. I actually got a better response on it. So I thought it was going to be a one-time thing. And now it's a regular thing that we put out. And it's just kind of a fun surprise blend. And then, of course, we got Roaster's Choice out here. Today is the Mexican medium roast, which is the same coffee that's in the Coast Guard Rescue roast.
Okay.
And basically, if you go on the website and choose Roaster's Choice, you get the cool mixtape. We love that 90s, pop culture theme on the site.
I do love that.
And that's what you get.
That's
so,
dope.
yeah, so that's what we got in front of us today. You're drinking a phenomenal Swiss water decaf.
Yep.
And I'm drinking an experimental chai beverage that is not released yet.
Oh, man. I can't wait to hear about as that product develops. I'm really excited about it. I got to take a little taste a second ago, and it's so good. It's so good. It's very, very clean.
So, yeah, we're doing this. This is exciting. This is going to be on the Max Podcast Network, which is also a new project, which is pretty cool with Max Media Radio doing their podcast network. So I'm excited to bring some outdoors content to them with you.
Yeah.
Most of my overlanding journey has been with you, right? So I would say when I went from basic tent camping with my Walmart, tent, whatever, in my backpack full of stuff. When I started really getting into overlanding, you were building out your bus.
That's right.
And so you and Kyle, that's been the overlanding kind of crew.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that actually. It's pretty funny that, because Kyle was getting into it at the same time.
Yeah.
But that was around the same time that I came to Team 3, and he was my squad leader, and I hated him. So I was every once in a while he would give me a little sliver of his humanity, where he would be like, oh, that's cool. We would talk about camping for 7 to 12 seconds at a time before he went back to being the biggest dick in the history of the universe. So,
and now we go camping with him all the time.
Right. Now we're good friends. Yeah.
We're all retired.
So that was for sure.
It's funny.
You want to tell us a little bit about what your background is, just a brief overview of your military career and stuff like that.
Yeah, I just did 20 years in the Coast Guard. I was a maritime enforcement specialist. I was a chief. Was a bosun mate first, so we all had MEs in our generation. We were the start of the rate, so we kind of all had a previous life before that. I was a boat driver. I was at International Training Division as an instructor. Did a lot of State Department type travel with foreign military sales in different countries.
Did that influence how you started to approach overlanding and camping when you did?
That was when I also got heavy into rock climbing. So I would go out to Mount Mincy and Mount Tammany in the Delaware Water Gap, and I would climb, and there was a lot of camping involved in that. But I would say I was more into the climbing aspect of things gear wise. But yes, traveling to Africa, traveling to parts of Asia, and building. And I was on the force protection crew for the teams, so I built the kits, the go bags, basically.
Right.
And so I really learned, and at that time it was, Mario Rente was the FP guy for the unit. And so it was well, what do we need when we go to these places life straws and things like that? Because you need clean water and you need medication and you need all these bandages and all these things. So I started building go bags for different countries. And then I really started to see the importance of having proper gear.
Yeah. No, same. I think when I was at Tackle South, it was pretty similar. We did a lot of short notice deployments to the Eastern Pacific and stuff like that, and always got to be. I mean, for everybody who's not familiar with the Coast Guard, the part of the Coast Guard that Mike and I came from is a very dynamic area of the military.
And back then it was very little known.
Right.
Now it's more publicized, but
people when I came, so I'll say a little bit about me. I did 5 years in the Marines as an intelligence analyst. Then I came over to the Coast Guard, thought I wanted to be a bosun mate, and then decided that I think that painting is against my civil rights. So I did something completely different. So then I needed to replace the engine in my 4Runner. And one of the MKs at the station helped me with that. And then I was like, this is pretty cool. So I became an MK, which is a mechanic for the Coast Guard, and then eventually ended up doing precision marksman and drug interdiction in Miami after an icebreaker and tug where I was a mechanic. That was first. And then...
but I know, being at Miss New York and doing deployments, I was what they called the gear... nickname rhymes with beer. I was that guy. Right. So I was always into the gear, man. I was always I loved it, because I was one of those guys that if I could make something more comfortable, right? And being a short statured operator, a lot of gear just didn't work for me. So I had to modify a lot of my own gear, right? Just super tall guys have to modify their stuff. Also, I used to say I had a little waist, being 5'3", So I had to wear the same amount of gear that you had to wear.
Right.
With a lot less square footage to put it on.
I always really felt bad for you guys because of that.
Yeah,
honestly.
because we're like stacking gear on top of gear. And so anything I could do to like lighten that load and make something more comfortable, which was excellent because when I ended up at MSRT with you and I got injured, I spent the last 2.5 years in the supply cage getting you guys the right gear,
right?
Which like to me was like kind of like the coolest way to go out because it was a passion of mine. And it was like, I get to nerd out on all this equipment, but also make sure that like the PMs are getting the best stuff, the best packs, the best gloves. You guys are getting proper uniforms and all the different things that you needed to do the mission. So that also, helped me get into overlanding. And then, being a veteran, getting out, getting into coffee, but then also like my daughter was getting older at that time. She was 6 months old when I retired. And then me wanting to share camping with her as a thing we do together. So then it was like, well, I want to camp with her, right? So I need it's like at the time, again, I was using a Ozark Trail tent from Walmart. It's like, I got to get a better tent, you have one of my old tents. I've been through 4 iterations of tents plus a rooftop tent to get to the tent that I'm at now. And I say it's my final form.
Dude, that is such a crazy parallel because like when I was going through like almost the exact same thing at almost maybe like a couple years before you with my kids. Yeah. Because they had gotten old enough to be able to go camping, and in like classic style, I just decided to do it live. Yeah. Like we did do a rehearsal in my backyard, but I bought that Cabela's teepee tent that I cut a hole in to put that stove jack in. And we went camping up in George Washington National Forest where there was no cell service and it dropped below freezing like the second or third night we were there. You know, and I was like giving the kids walkie-talkies and being like, stay together, like there are bears here. And stuff like that. So that was I love it. That was definitely I was going through the same thing. It's kind of weird that it's just interesting how we both found like the same journey. Yeah, the same path. And Kyle was at that point was on his journey in his retirement, and he was doing road trips with his dog Nelson, and they were traveling around the country in his 4Runner, and he was getting into overlanding. And I ended up and I didn't really know. I mean, me and Kyle knew each other in passing on active duty, right? It was like, "What's up?" He was the first at the time. He'd be like, "What's up, Chief?" And I'm like, "What's up, dog?" It was like cool, right? But we never talked. And then I ended up taking a bunch of coasties through a nonprofit that I was with on a hunting trip to South Carolina. We went hog hunting, and Kyle was on that trip, right? And so when Kyle came on that trip, he talked about how therapeutic, because it was like a therapy type trip, and he talked about how therapeutic the trip was. But me and him bonded on that trip. Like we just spent a lot of time together, and he appreciated. Like I sponsored it with coffee, right? So we really started to talk coffee, and then after that trip, he was like, "Dude, I'm going camping like next week." It was like when he takes his usual fall foliage camp. Yeah. He goes, "It's going to be on the Tyro River. It's off-road. Like, and I had the Gladiator. Yeah. And I just put the bed rack on it. He's like, "Do you want to go?" And I'm like, "Yeah, like that'd be fun, dude." So like, I got my kid's mom to watch her. Me and Kyle just went, the 2 of us. Yeah. And we had a blast. And he was like, "Dude, we should do this 1 week in a month." Okay. And then that's how me and Kyle started camping, was that 1 week in a month. Then he started at the farm. And then when we started to camp on the farm, because it was hard for him to get away from the horse farm. Yeah. And then you started coming out to the farm. Yeah. And then it was just like that. It just kept spiraling. Dude, you're right. You're right. Yeah. It was such a good time. It was. And I noticed like every trip, like it was cool too, because having 3 people that are passionate about gear and passionate about overlanding, sometimes like you'd bring a piece of gear and I'd be like, "Oh, that's really dope. Like, let me write that in my notes." Yeah. And then I realized that like, I would bring stuff that you'd be like, "Oh, yeah. Yeah. And so like we all kind of kept testing gear out for each other, but then also going together, it was nice because I also knew I didn't have to have everything. Right. Because it was like a team when we go out, like everybody kind of puts their stuff together. Each one of us sort of had like a niche anyways. I mean, because like after I got to Tackle It South and I became a precision marksman, that's really, which is like the functional equivalent of a sniper. Yep. Anyways, so like the amount of equipment that I needed to carry with me, kind of how you were talking about, like massively increased. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so I started starting to pay attention to like how to make the gear work together. And then right after that is when I went camping for the first time with my kids in the mountains. And that was from my Nissan Pathfinder at the time. So that was like kind of like overlandy, sort of. But like Kyle was like in full overland mode because it's like him and his dog.
That's it.
And you were like really good with like all like smaller intricate pieces of gear because you were in the supply shop.
Yep.
And because of your ITD stuff.
Yeah.
And then
it's like that specialized weird stuff that
and then we had a hurricane, and I decided that I would buy a school bus for $2,500 and make it into a camper.
which was, and it not was because you still have it. It is awesome.
It's a pretty sick rig. And so yeah, that is something about my background, I guess, that's kind of germane to this conversation. Is I converted a Henrico County handicapped school bus into a camper.
Yep.
With a wood stove, a composting toilet, full solar on it.
Sweet roof deck.
Yes, the
Sweet
roof deck. I mean, that was like the most coveted feature of the whole build, and it was also the most sketchy because like I'm not a certified welder, and I don't have a ton of tools or money, so there was a lot of improvisation, that went on. So, let's just say I'm really happy and pleased with the structural integrity of how everything came out. Because I was out in George Washington National Forest one time, and there was I was on a fire road. It was an off-road trail, and there was like a tree that was like too far down on the trail, and it was okay when the bus came in because it would like rock opposite. I don't know, just like the way that it worked out, it would rock away from the tree coming in. But when we came out, I could not seem to get it positioned quite right. And so we ended up putting a pretty big dent in the top of the roof rack rail, like the rail's like ankle high.
Sure.
Put a huge dent in that like ripped down part of a tree getting out of there. So I know the deck is solid because I hit it with a tree.
It would have ripped off at that point. So,
right, exactly.
Yeah, no, I dig it, man. And it's like, in the overlanding community, I think it's a great community because I love that people share knowledge and share gear like what we're doing. And I'm sure a lot of people that are watching this, please feel free to like share your stories in the comments, right? Your experiences. For sure. I love to hear how other people got into this lifestyle, and I think it's a spectrum. I've met guys that only will do DIY, right? That's all they will do. And I'm like, and that's cool, but sometimes you could DIY yourself to death, right? Like you could go, like sometimes I'm
on the closer to the death side of that spectrum.
Right? I was gonna say you're very DIY, very much, right? I'm like in the middle, so I'm like I like DIY, but then also I'm like if that's gonna cost me 7 hours to build, but it's like $30, like I make more than $35 an hour, right? So it's like I want my time. My time is more valuable to me. So I would rather just buy it, right?
Yeah.
And so I think there's like a happy balance in between, but I don't discount anybody on either end of the spectrum. I've seen guys with completely purchased rigs, and it's like, if you got the money to do it, cool.
Well, that's what's so cool about camping and overlanding is it's like a community of gypsies.
It is.
So we're like, I mean, I guess like, it's just, or like nomads that it's like everybody is kind of
gypsy soul.
Right. It's like everybody's an island to themselves to a degree, but then and then once you like if you DIY yourself to death, and then you're like, okay, I scratched that itch. Then you can just go pal around with your neighbor or somebody else that's like, if you're part of the community and you have that community aspect, you can engage with other people on your own terms.
Yeah.
So you don't like, I do love that about it because I really don't appreciate being pigeonholed into doing something a particular way.
Sure.
I like to exercise my creativity and do it like that. I mean, Kyle and I have had a lot of conversations recently about that, just about how one of the things that we love about camping and traveling and being out and stuff is like maybe human beings were supposed to use a good bit of their time, energy, and focus just to like live every day.
Yes.
Rather than to just, be like carrying the pack to the, like trying to get that next first down. So
it's like when we go to like Crabtree and we're off grid there in the fall by the falls, and we're in those little spots for 3-4 days. And I always say like the event is the next meal. Yeah. Basically, right? So it's like you wake up, Kyle gets the campfire going. I'll light the wood stove in the one tent so we can go in and have our coffee around the wood stove. Then we go out by the fire. I cook breakfast. I'm like the camp cook, That's my thing. But I'm the camp cook because I like to share that with everyone. I like to be the one that cooks for everybody. Yeah. Because it's just like with the coffee. I love to see people enjoying what I create. Right. Right. So like I'll cook breakfast and then we all chill. Right. And then it's like, all right, what are we going to do? And whether we're like throwing axes or we're like carving something or sleeping in hammocks or hiking, whatever it is that we're doing out there, then it's like, what's
Well,
for
it's
lunch?
usually never a dull moment too,
No.
because I mean, in Virginia, if you don't like the weather, just wait 5 minutes.
Sure.
So it's like there's been quite a few.
That one storm that we went
Dude,
through,
yes.
where we had to hold the tent down, like 5 of us hanging
Yeah,
in
and
the tent.
dude, I don't even think I've used that since then. I bought this like giant double. So like just so the audience knows, it's not a 10 by 10.
It's like a 40 by 10, right?
by 20.
Or 10 by 20. That
And
was huge.
Yeah, we took it to Chickahominy Campground in James City County, I believe, or like whatever. They
right on
got
the
such
river.
weird, dumb names for the county cities around this area.
City,
like
county.
it's like when you go to fill out an application, like, what county do you live in? You're like, no. And I'm like, what do you do?
I don't know.
But yeah, but the ground was hard, and we had a huge, like, just
That was supposed to be
pop-up
the
storm.
That was supposed to be the kitchen tent
Yes.
for the thing. And then we all
how
had
many
our,
guys did we have in there holding it?
I know it was like 6 or 7, because some of the fam, like your wife and the kids, were in the van. Because we went in the van to wait out the storm, but then because of the wind, and
that's right.
The stakes basically
Well, it was like
came out.
me and you and
You had
Ben.
the sides and back on it, which was catching the wind.
It was a
So
disaster.
then it was like, okay, but the crazy thing was, at the time I had that really cool shelter tent with the rubberized floor.
Yeah.
But it was open, and because we were in your tent holding everything
Yeah,
down,
it got
I couldn't
flooded.
close
That's
it.
right.
So all the rain blew in, and it filled up. So when I went in there, like all my clothes, everything was like sea.
I remember
my
that.
CPAP machine was like underwater. It was destroyed. I was like, oh, dude. So
The worst.
But it was still fun, and you had the portable. You brought the ice bath in the trailer, which was like super cool.
Yeah, that was sick. I mean, I really do. That was really cool. And then after that trip, you turned me on to using screw down stakes.
The screw and sticks with the impact wrench.
Yep.
Yeah,
And like,
game changer.
Dude, I've been taking those all over the place, and also like a little more context. Out of the people that were likely to interact with us on this podcast, I'm definitely like the hippie guy. Like I go to dead festivals, and like, you know, I got a lot of like tie-dye in my system here and there, you know. So like when I've gone camping outside of our group and festivals and stuff like that, like everyone comes up to me and they're like just shocked at how much of a hack just using screw down stakes is. And that would have stayed. We wouldn't have had to hold it down if we would have had good stakes.
No, but and you know what's funny? That trip was the reason that I ended up getting into them more. But actually, when I got the tent that you bought from me, the Free Spirit Recreation, the first shelter that they made, it was basically a modified ice fishing shelter.
Yes.
Ice shelter with a removable floor. It came with screw-in ice stakes. And it's funny because I still keep those in my repertoire of stakes, because those are good for really hard ground where the bigger screws don't necessarily want to go in. So you can use those because they'll grab in the harder ground.
Right.
But yeah, I bring that impact wrench. I bring 2 DeWalt batteries with me, and it's just nice to be able to, and I bring my little mini DeWalt hand chainsaw anyway, right, for emergency cutting and stuff.
Yeah.
So I have the batteries with me anyway. And it's great because it's just, go in. You put 5, 6 of them things down. Dude,
Dude, how many times have you broken a piece of your gear either putting a stake, either
getting it out,
or something attached to the stake, getting it in or out?
Yes.
Like all the time.
Bending something, like snapping.
Dude, I can remember going to REI and like, I don't know, just like I buy something.
Yep.
Or whatever, and like I usually don't pay full price.
Yeah.
So I'm like, troll all of the discounts.
Sure.
So I'm like patting myself on the back because I got this like $500 piece of equipment that's like way out of my budget for like $50. I'm like, hell yeah, babe. And then I rip it or break it, and then you're trying to get the stakes in and out. You know, it's actually pretty awesome.
Oh yeah, I've snapped a bunch of things, ripped a bunch of things, and so it's funny because with those. Remember the new FSR tent they have, the big one?
Yeah.
Which, we'll review, we'll go over. I love FSR. I mean, like, that's my tent.
We'll go set it up and do a podcast.
But I had that thing out here for all of December into January, almost a month in the backyard. So we had the wood burning stove set up in there and stuff, and we all sat out and had the fire and everything. That thing was out, snow, rainstorms, wind, and it was held down by 6 of those screw-in stakes.
Yeah.
Never moved.
Dude,
Never moved.
I don't even, like, unless I'm doing backpacking, I don't think I will ever go back to a tent without a floor, as far as like purchasing or with a floor, like another tent.
I almost never put my floor in.
It is like having a floor in your tent is like the worst thing
It's a hassle.
that's ever been invented.
It's a
in like
And if it doesn't come out, it's a real hassle trying to clean the tent.
yeah, you can't clean the tent, and like I mean, and then when I took the tree guys up to the farm to go hunting, and we stayed in that same tent. I mean, like it just gets trashed. Like the floor gets trashed.
There is one thing I got to put on this podcast. One thing I want to do, because I know you want to talk about how we're going to rate gear, and I think it's a very honest and with a lot of integrity, the rating system, and also, you know, like you talked about with like paid, like we're not going to be rating like paid content,
right?
It's going to be honest rating. But what I want to say is the word glamping, because I actually get like physically angry when people say that to me, right? Because they'll be like, "Oh, that's not camping, that's glamping,"
So
and I'm like,
how smart would you say you are telling me that really annoys you?
Yo, dude, no.
I thought you were past that.
No, I'm not. I can't get past it. I'm like a child with that. And I'll tell you why. So, and then people like me, listen, these guys are glampers. No. Glamping, to me, is when a bunch of people that don't own any gear go to like a yurt in like the vineyards up in like Shenandoah and pay like $180 a night to go sleep in this like thing that's all set up and it's got air conditioning and it's all decked out for them, right? Overlanding is when you own all your own gear and your rig. Yes, do I have a hot water heater that I can connect to a shower? Sure, but it's all mine, and I pack it into my, just like I would into a wagon or a donkey or whatever, right? Yeah. And so, like, to me, overlanding, people say there's a fine line. No, there's not. There's a definitive line between overlanding and glamping. Yeah. And, like, there's nothing wrong with being comfortable camping.
No, I agree.
And so a lot of people think that camping, and I know people that go, I don't camp. I don't want to be miserable. If I want to be miserable, I'll go, no, it's not about being miserable. We are extremely comfortable when we camp.
Right.
And if anything, sometimes I'm more comfortable camping than I am in a house.
Same.
Right?
Me too.
But it's not glamping. So, don't use that word, and use it right if you're going to use it. So,
I haven't ever heard anybody articulate it quite that clear, just like where the line of demarcation is between the two. But that's a good measure. I like that.
And to me, that I feel like that is the measure, because I have friends that don't camp, never been in a tent, never camp. And I'm not saying it even has to be a tent, right? But like Kyle calls it, if you're in like a cabin, a camp adjacent, right? Yeah. So it's like we go camp adjacent sometimes at the barn. Yeah. But it's still like, to me, there's a thing of like, if you take one of those glampers and put them in an overland situation, they're done. They don't.
Because they can't troubleshoot any of their systems.
No. And so, because it's not their systems, somebody else provided it for them. So that is more of like a paid experience rather than what we're doing, where it's like, these systems that we've been developing for 5, 6, 7, 8 years. And I've been overlanding now for 8 solid years. Yeah. Multiple vehicles. I just went from a Jeep Gladiator. Now I'm in a 1998 Toyota Hiace diesel 4-wheel drive van. Yeah. Totally different than a Gladiator. Yeah. But again, it's something that I like to think we've put a lot of care and thought into the development of. So to me, that is obviously very different. So just wanted to put that out. We don't like to use the G word. We're going to call it the G word. Okay. We're not going to, Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting, I like that. I like how you have decided when it is and when it is.
Sure.
That makes a lot of sense.
Because then people go, oh, you take a truck camping. I just go backpacking. You're right. And backpacking camping
who is saying that?
Is that
who? Like, where are all these crunchy granola MFers that are saying that?
Yeah.
And
it's people that I'm pretty sure don't camp.
Right. Exactly. They just walk through REI, and then they're like, why don't you just backpack? Yeah. Well, why don't you take that stuff out of the store and take it into the woods and see how it works?
That's right, yes.
Because, if you don't know how your gear works, which is really, that's something that I'm really hoping and I'm so excited about this project to bring to the audience, is because we're using the gear and the lessons and the things that we've learned are hard fought through real experiences. Sure. And even though this is, we're veterans and this project is a little bit military centric, I think everybody can just benefit from backwards mission planning.
Absolutely.
I don't know how people function without it. To be honest,
if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready.
Well, yeah,
and a lot of this stuff that I have came from needing it and not having it, and being like, man, I wish I had blah blah blah, and I will literally take a note. Right? I always come back every camp, even now, even after 8 solid years of overlanding, and there's been years where I've done it every month. We go overlanding every single month, right? So that's 12 trips a year. And I'm still making notes like, man, if I had this, it would be better. Man, like even the watching you do the dishes
Dude,
the one time with that
sleep
dish
when I
cloth.
get home because I can't make all the notes that I want while I'm driving back safely.
Sure.
Like I can dictate some of them safely.
So you're like,
but like I'll have like a great idea while I'm trying to like merge onto traffic at an intersection.
Yeah.
And then I'll forget it 5 minutes later, and it'll keep me up that night because I'm like trying to do the after action.
that mug, the pump and dump mug, is from a camping trip, and that was from my notes. We'll talk about that on another episode. So that's a good one. But yeah, so tell us, how are we going to rate? Because you came up with the rating system. How are we going to rate gear?
Okay, so I'm gonna have to pull it up here, and I'll go through it. But I did want to also touch on like the value that we're trying to bring to the audience as far as what I'm referring to backwards mission planning. It just amazes me how many people don't, like the backpacking person that I was talking about who walks through the store, doesn't walk in the woods. If they decide they want to go camping, did they even take the time to define what they wanted their experience to be? Because like I feel like that's one reason it's so that we've had such a great time and have been successful in our camping and overland endeavors is because we don't typically walk out of the door without knowing what we want to get out of the experience. And so when you backwards plan that through your gear selection, like what, you know, the gear selection, capability of the gear, how much space that you have, what season you're in, all that kind of stuff. Because as soon as you leave and deploy that equipment, you just learn a lot of like really off the wall stuff that you just wouldn't know otherwise until you start using it.
And also,
you really have to do it.
Who's bringing what? So like when I go with you guys, you know, we talk. Like, what are you bringing? What? Because again, like if I'm bringing my camp kitchen, why would you bring your camp kitchen? Right? Weight is very important in overlanding and room, and so going with other people who are also in the same mindset is nice because you're not bringing 3 of the same pieces of equipment.
Right.
Because sometimes you don't need to do that. Right. Or sometimes I might have a piece of gear, you might have a piece of gear. And so it's like, all right, let's bring that. Because I've never deployed all of my gear at one time.
Right.
Right. So like you said, it depends on what we're doing. If we're going to the farm to camp up on top of the mountain, that's one set of gear. If we're going to Crabtree, that's another set of gear.
Right.
If we're going to Tyro, that's another set of gear. So it all depends on like what you're doing, on what you're going to bring. Because sometimes, like in the past, you'd bring gear and then you're like, I didn't even need that. Why'd I bring it? Like,
You know.
Well,
sometimes, it's so funny. Like for me, I feel like the gear is maybe like in 2 categories.
Yep.
It's like the preparedness gear.
Yeah.
That I bring so something doesn't happen.
Sure.
Because if I leave it at home, then I'll need
happen.
it. Like that's why my kids are always like, "Hey, why are you bringing that, Dad?" Because as long as I bring it, I won't need it.
That's right.
If I leave it at home,
you will 100%
need it. And then there's all the stuff that I know I'm going to use on the trip as well. That stands pretty good. And so for this project, we are not going to be doing any paid reviews. Like with any companies and any gear that we talk about or whatever, our opinions are going to belong to us and us alone.
Yep.
If they send us gear for free, we will disclose that.
Sure.
However, our opinions are not really going to be swayed by
no.
We're not going to be like corporate shills for doing gear. Now, I as a videographer, I do advertise for companies. And so if somebody were to see my face on like an advertisement for another company, like that's a separate project.
And we'll demo it.
Like, we'll demo it. Yeah,
but here's the thing: if it's got a flaw, I'm not going to not point it out, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
At the end of the day, we want our listeners and viewers to not only trust us, but also take part in what we're doing and give us information because they might have information on gear that we don't have. So as much as we're sharing with you, we want you guys to share with us. And so that way there's that trust between, the listeners and between us on what we're putting out, that we're not just paid influencers that are like, hey, use this product. And then you go out in the woods and it breaks in, one trip.
Like,
because
getting into that game of like doing advertising and like influencer politics and all that kind of stuff, like it's a gross business. It's disgusting because, but I don't want to beat up the Chinese too bad because I feel like they're part of the, if you're not cheating, you're not trying type mentality. So it's kind of like universal in that way. And but
I've gotten some very good gear from China that's actually been awesome stuff. So it's like, people say like, oh, it's Chinese made, and there's some really
I shoot on a lot of Insta360 cameras.
Yeah.
And Insta360 is one of those companies, don't quote me on it, but I've at least heard rumors about, just like buying influencers to like say XYZ about their products, and it's not when that experience maybe never happened,
Sure.
or it's not real type deal, and like that is concerning. But I feel like maybe I think there might be a bit of a cultural difference as far as that goes. I'd be more offended if it was an American company, because it seems like every Chinese company, all of them that make good equipment, they're just in it to win it however they can. So, I mean, I would
that's
advise
part of the
people
game. That's part of the game
take
now.
that with a grain of salt.
With influencers. I mean, same thing with restaurants. Coffee's huge with influencers.
Yeah.
You know, and it's funny because, like, I have friends that have a tenth of the coffee knowledge that I have. You know, I'm a roaster for more than a dozen companies. I've got incredible reviews on Coffee Review. I'm making, national brands. I'm doing the official Coast Guard coffee. But at the end of the day, I've never, ever done a paid advertisement or anything for any company.
Right.
Any gear reviews that I've done has been because I found the product, I paid for it.
Yeah.
Like when I was telling you about this mug today.
Yeah.
I paid for that mug on Amazon, and I just love it.
Right.
So a lot of times if I say, like, yo, I use this, that's Coffee Mike telling you, like, this is legit, and I use this because with all my experience, I think this is the best product. And people go, you should put yourself out there as an influencer, and you should get companies. And I'm like, I don't want that, because I want my opinions to be organic, and I want them to be honest, and I want them to come from my experience in the industry.
Right.
And so, I like that we're transferring that into this.
Me too.
And kind of taking that same approach.
Yeah, it keeps it a lot more genuine, and I mean, and in the world of things feel like they might be getting less.
But
genuine
that being
all the
said,
time,
if someone wants to send us free stuff, please.
Yeah,
we do like free stuff. Like, we're not rich, either of us.
Right,
so
yeah.
I don't mind it, but I'm going to be honest about it. So send me your best stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, and if you're going to get butthurt if we don't like it, then make sure you send a return shipping label.
That's
I'm
right.
not paying to ship it back.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, hey, look, if you send me something, if there's something that needs to be changed, I'll tell you. Right? So, but I do love a lot of the companies that we, do have gear from, and I love that they're constantly, evolving, and they're constantly taking feedback. Like, and again, I'll say FSR, Free Spirit Recreation, because like their tents, like, I mean, I'm on my third tent with them. My friend Leo has a rooftop tent from them, and I just love that they're constantly making the tents better, constantly evolving, constantly listening to us. That goes like, "Hey, this tent would be really cool if it had this," and then the next version comes out. And
you can really tell, even the one I bought from you. How long did you have that before I had it?
Oh my God, it's
how many years?
I bought that tent in 2019.
Okay.
2018, actually.
Yeah.
It was the year that I retired from the military.
Okay.
Because that's when I started doing it, and I basically replaced my my Walmart tent with that one, and then I had that clamshell.
Yeah.
And that was an overland tent too. That company had gone out of business. It was I think it was called Red Rock Overland or something. They were out, in Nevada, and then supposedly there was like some kind of issue with the reading online. They disappeared, and I was like, what the heck? Like, I love that tent. I ended up selling that tent to a hunter because it was basically a perfect hide setup. So he bought it used as a hide, a deer hide.
Well, my hat's off to small companies. Now, I'll go through the review criteria here in a second.
Yeah.
But, like, I mean, my hat is off to the physical creators, as it were, like the designers.
Yeah. Like
the small companies in the camping and the overland space who are pouring their heart and soul into developing products.
Sure.
And, because it's like... the barrier of entry to do like creation, like what we're doing now on a podcast, is a lot lower than it is to like do R&D on like a physical. Get a prototype made. I mean, it's gotten better with 3D printing and stuff like that, but it's still really expensive.
Absolutely.
And when you got to eat, it's just a big ask. So like, I have a lot of respect for those companies, and like I'll go over the review criteria that we're going to use for different kinds of items, which is going to be, I'm thinking like a 1 to 10 scale per, because I don't really want to do the 5-star thing. I feel like the 5-star thing is overplayed. Sure. And I feel like everybody gets offended when they don't get 5 stars. Yeah. Because like, when I drove for Uber for a little bit, and it's like, if you're not a 5-star, it's like, it just stings a little. Yeah. Like you're behind. But sure. I want a grading system that more accurately captures the full picture, because I mean, if a 5-star is the highest you can go, and you're already at that, like what?
You're basically saying that.
Yeah, you're just saying that I'm good with all right.
Yes.
You're not saying I'm good with excellence.
We always say in our coffee world, don't let best get in the way of better.
That's a fact. So we're going to rate the products on effectiveness and performance. And there are 10, so it'll be like 10 out of 10. And
Yeah.
get like a score, because I picked 10 categories or whatever to go over, which is effectiveness and performance. Does it solve the advertised problem or a different problem? What is its perceived durability? Because we do want to be able to push content out to the viewers about different kinds of equipment with some kind of like, we don't want like a super long turnaround. So that's one thing with other like gear driven content that always kind of bugs me, because I'll have somebody talking about something, it's like their durability, and like they basically pulled the tag off of it 10 minutes ago. Like, how do you know?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we're going to give you our best assessment on what we think that the durability will be based on our experience and what we can see.
I have some good durability tests in mind for that we can, some sped up torture tests that we can
Okay,
run through. So,
I like it. I dig it.
yeah.
And then we'll go to adaptability and versatility, bulk and weight, material quality and toxicity, parent company and ethics score, because I'm not married to only doing stuff with small businesses, but I do want to. We were talking off camera before we sat down. I want to make sure that we're doing what we can to support those guys that I was just talking about, who are part of those small companies like FSR, or was it
FSR?
FSR, yeah. We want to support companies like that are out there, living the dream, and we don't want to just push people toward the lowest bidder, which, if we dug deep enough, we would just probably find a bunch of child labor and weird textiles. So, whatever. We don't want to get too in the weeds, but So material quality and toxicity, parent. I already said that one, and parent company ethics score.
Sure.
Brand style, and that's going to be subjective. So, depending on I'm envisioning that some products that we work with will probably receive a different brand style score from both of us, which will be kind of, like if you do a review on your own or I do one on my own, it'll just be standalone, but we'll just average them out for that.
Yeah, and that's an opinion, right? Because at the end of the day, we might score at one thing and a viewer might go, I love that.
Right. So. And then environmental impact. So that's how the product is used in the field and how it's manufactured.
Sure.
And then, of course, the overall value to performance metric.
Yep.
I'm about to post a review, actually, like a shameless plug here. I'm doing a snowboard review for the Arbor Terra Twin snowboard, and I'm not using this criteria, but I did want to include style for the products, because I didn't feel like for a product like a snowboard that this grading metric was a very good fit, because your riding style is so individual. It's kind of like an art form. So I don't know. For me, I feel like it's a really great fit for camping and overland gear, but I will do some plugs for other types of gear like snowboarding and stuff that I've done. And I just don't feel like it's fair to measure a snowboard by such a, it's like doing a grading criteria for like a guitar.
Yeah.
It's very individual based on the player.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So, to be fair to the brands and to the people, and to just keep authenticity with the viewers, that's kind of where I'm going. Why now for our podcast? What's going on? Why do you feel like this is a great time for us to start this podcast? What are you most excited about with it?
So, like we mentioned, the Max podcast network, which is, kind of driving, I was literally just on a podcast before we were filming this one, just friends of mine. He's going to be on the network. He's already established. Also, we're all retired military. We all are working in our passions, right? You're working in media. Before that, you owned your tree company, which is your passion. You built a very successful tree company and sold it, and then to get into this new venture that you're getting into, and immediately you've been doing just awesome things, right? And so
it's very kind. Thank you.
And look, I get to watch, right? I love to watch my friends succeed, and to watch you basically build a company in such a short time, be successful, and be like, you know what? I'm going to pass this off to somebody else. Right? You pass it off to your partner, and then I'm going to get into this new thing. And there is that's a level of, jump that a lot of people don't have, right? Because they're, what if it doesn't work? What if this? It's leaving the safety of the shelter, right? To venture out. And so I think and same with me. I've had companies, I've declared bankruptcy, I've sold companies, now I'm working for other companies, and it's I'm at a point where I'm just very comfortable in my life, and overlanding and getting out in nature has become such a big part of my life that it's like, you know, to me, it's a calling like, hey, I want to share this with people, but also I want to do this with my friends. It gives us a chance to do this together. And then also, like, we've got the network now, so we've got the way to push this out to people through the Max Podcast Network that, like, it's not just like, we're not just dropping this on YouTube and like, man, I hope we get some subscribers. Yeah. Like, this is going to be advertised on radio in different markets. This is going to be,
it's so cool.
Like, so for me, it's cool to be part of that. And then, like, at the same time, I just spent last night on a video chat with some gentlemen that have a podcast locally, and they're going to come over to the network. Like, they're super stoked. And it's like a rising tide floats all ships. So I'm also not just, I've always loved, I mean, I worked in radio when I was active duty. I was a DJ, and I was on Hot 100.5. I did the weekend rollout. I played all the nightclubs. I did all that. I loved it, so that when I got out of that, I missed it. But, like, podcasting scratched that itch for me.
Yeah.
And so, like, I had my comedic podcast. I was on the MMA Fight League podcast, you know, and then, like, now I've got Brawlers Broadcast is coming out. That's going to be a podcast with Kevin Bianchi, and we're going to be, sorry, for truck going on. Trash truck. Trash day! But we got Brawlers Broadcast coming out. That's going to be with the Brawlers Ball, which is an awesome fight league. It's backed by Rampage Jackson. Frank Mir is one of the commentators. Just legends of UFC that are part of this league. And it's right here in Virginia Beach at the Dome. So doing that, and I mean, it's just all tying together. So I'm excited. And it's like, this isn't just a hobby. This is literally a part of our life. Like, overlanding is a part of our lives.
Right.
And whether we're doing it alone or we're doing it together, it's something that, you know, I love sharing it with my daughter, and I'm excited to share it with our listeners as well.
Yeah, I'm super stoked on it. And I think that, I mean, you hit on something that the friend group that we have with you and Kyle, and when we hang out together, it's really special to me personally, because, like, if we don't believe in ourselves, like, who will? You know, like, I mean, thanks for all your kind words. And also, like, for the listeners that, if you're not already familiar with Coffee Mike, like, you're kind of a big deal in this space, at least to me. Like, you know, so, like, that is, but when we hang out together, the underlying, like, common denominator between us is, like, support for each other's dreams and aspirations.
Yeah.
Because, like, we come to the conversation with this, like, deep appreciation for, like, camping or whatever it is, that the specific thing or recreation that we're talking about. And, you know, in a lot of ways for us mentally, that's medicine.
Yeah,
one.
Absolutely.
And for two, you know, it's like inside, like, emotionally, we're kind of on the fence of, like, do I deserve this? Can I do this? And, like, you guys have been a force multiplier, at least for my personal growth, since I've left the military, you know, just to believe in myself that I can do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And just basically follow my passion, swing for the fence, and just, you know, I just know that it's going to be okay.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I don't know how it's going to be okay or what it's going to look like, but, you know, it's never let me down yet.
No.
And also, I want to say that, like, when I first met you, and as you have had more crazy life experiences and different things that you have gotten into. So if our listeners are on this podcast and you're thinking, even for a second, you're like, man, you know, that guy, that Coffee Mike guy, he might be he might be, you know, a bullshitter, because, like, how can one person have his hands in this many things and, like, done that many stuff? And it's just not true. Like, I thought that when I first met you for a little bit, but, like, after a period of time, I was like, holy smokes, like, you've literally done, like, so many different diverse things.
And then you start doing the things with me, and you're like, oh my God, I'm part of these stories now.
Right. And it turns out to be totally legit. So, I mean, you know, it's completely authentic.
You know why, though, too? And I understand. And a lot of times when someone says, like, oh, I don't believe you did all these things, and I'm sorry that you haven't, right? And that's on you, right? Mm-hmm. We all have the same amount of time in a day, 24 hours in a day. It's what you do with that time.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm one of those people that, like, people go, do you sleep? Absolutely, I sleep. But I don't waste my time. You know, and a good example, I woke up at 5:45 this morning, got up, made my coffee, got my daughter off to school, hauled to work, right? Sent out 196 bags of coffee to the Coast Guard, bagged up internet orders for you, actually, too. Yeah, your coffee's on the way, right? Did Took the roaster apart in the back of the truck. I got the fan. Actually, I'm gonna have you help me carry it in.
Okay.
So Saturday morning, we clean the roaster here at the carport. It's just easier to do that at the shop. Let's use needle gun and stuff.
Okay.
But we did all that. Literally came in, put my stuff down, played with my dog, jumped in the cigar shed, right? Had a hour and a half long podcast with the Conversation Cannabis and Christianity podcast with Miguel Torres. Awesome podcast. I can't wait for that to come out.
I'm gonna check that out. I didn't know that he was even doing that.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
it's great. He's such a great host too. Like, I mean, he's got a great personality, but he's just natural at it.
That's very cool.
And so literally 30 minutes remaining of his podcast, and you walk through the back gate, right? So I'm laughing because the dog's barking. I'm like, I said, my buddy Mark's here, and the dog's barking. And then I'm like, as soon as that's done, go inside, make you coffee, come out here, do a podcast with you. As soon as we're done with this, I'm going to pick up my daughter. As soon as we get back, I'm going to make her dinner, right? But here's the thing. I love that.
Yeah.
Like, I love that go, jam-packed.
Yeah.
And that's why I've had those experiences, because, like, at no point in that did you hear about scrolling, did you hear about TV,
right.
did you hear about, like, I don't just sit in my bed, like, and do nothing, because I know that there's always something to be done.
That makes me anxious. Like, when I am still,
because
I get anxious.
Because I start thinking, what could I be doing? Right? And so, like, even last night, like, I put her to bed, and I'm like, oh my God, like, I was playing with, like, Suno AI for, like, podcast intros, and I'm just, like, messing with all these different things, because I'm also, like, I'm helping other people in a space that, like, I'm still learning, right, with podcasting.
Right.
So I got to get good at this stuff too. And I got to learn how to do this, because those guys asked me questions on the phone last night that I'm like, gentlemen, I don't know the answer to those questions.
Right.
I have to get back to you, and so, like, but I want to be able to answer those questions. Yeah. So, that being said, this is going to be just a really fun, awesome project for us to do. And it's like stuff that we do anyway. So I think that's also kind of cool, is we're not just talking heads that are like, let's grab a bunch of gear. It's like, we're doing this stuff.
Yeah.
And chances are, when we're reviewing something, it's either going to be on a trip or getting ready to go on a trip.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and like, most of the time when I get motivated to do something that, as it relates to gear, it's because I can't find what I'm looking for already.
Sure.
And I know you're that way too. I mean, like, the review that I just did on that snowboard, there is no other review, because, like, if the audience doesn't know, like, probably not. Like, I'm nobody special on a snowboard. I'm just a guy. So
I don't know about that. I've seen you snowboard. It's pretty.
I like it.
I can't do that.
But, like, there are so many other people who are way more qualified to make a judgment and as a better subject matter expert, but no one has for that particular product. Sure. And then, there's a diesel heater is another example. Like, I storm chase to go ride my snowboard during the wintertime, and I stealth camp in my van, which is like my new jam, which I absolutely freaking love. It's amazing. But, I found out last year, near the Continental Divide between, like, it's basically, like, near the Continental Divide in Keystone and A-Basin area, that the glow plugs and diesel heaters don't like to be operated over 8,000 feet. I mean, I probably could have looked that up potentially, but my heater stopped working while I was out. Days drive from home with a Chinese diesel heater when it gets cold at night. Like, fortunately, it was in April, so it really wasn't, like, in my situation.
Yeah.
Like, I super lucked out with that. But, like, but now, the parts weren't that expensive, and I ordered extras because I was worried that was during the tariff thing that was happening. So I ordered extras. But now, my heater has the specialized glow plug wrench that you need to change. You need a special tool to change it, because I broke it at a gas station trying to, like, mess with it and fix it. Like, thank God it was a sunny day. I pulled up to this gas station that had a big parking lot, and I pulled everything out of the back of the van so I could, like, work on something, because it's jammed in there. And I'm, like, trying to get it with a wrench, and I broke the glow plug. It already wasn't working. But just having that little, it looks sort of like a chainsaw wrench, zip tied there with the extra pieces, that's a hard fought lesson that I learned through experience that can really save you from, like, a lot of potential butt pain.
Yeah. Cold butt pain.
Yeah. Exactly. So
it's cool. Okay.
Well, also, like, if you guys are getting anything out of this podcast whatsoever, go ahead and smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and leave us a comment below. It costs you absolutely nothing. Obviously, if you're viewing it on YouTube. If you're viewing this on another platform, show us some love. It doesn't cost you anything, and it really helps us to continue to bring content out like this.
Yep.
And I mean, if I'm being completely honest, everybody has to eat, but it's the connection and the community and making a difference is why, like, I want to show up for a project like this. And if that resonates with the audience, like, show us some love, help us game the algorithm so that we can keep doing this. We really do appreciate you, and it costs you nothing at all.
Yeah. If you want us to test out certain gear or have any questions, shoot it over to us. We'll see what we can do. In the meantime, tell us about how to get you on Instagram.
Yeah, so my media company is called Stay Fresh Media, and this will be on the YouTube channel for that. And I'm on Instagram. I'll put a link down there below. I'll put your information on there too.
Yep.
And my brand's brand new. It's all over the place. It's kind of like an anti-brand right now. So don't judge me too harshly. You're gonna go and look at my stuff. Everybody's gonna be like, "Wow, he's like all over the place." But I figured that it was more important to be true to myself than it was to try to follow the conventional wisdom. I mean, I built a successful tree company, and the reason that it was, this is just my opinion, I think it was successful, and I've had success in and out of the military because I don't do it the way that other people do it.
That's right.
Because I'm true to myself about the way that I'm doing it. Because I actually really want to be stoked on it. I want to have real passion for what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So,
well, when people buy your products, they're buying, and I've learned this in coffee, they're buying you.
Yeah.
More than they're buying the brand or the thing. So, with that being said, buy me. I was going to say, buy me, right, on mortem-labs.com.
Dude, I mean,
but seriously, try the coffee. I absolutely am passionate about coffee. I roast on a 12 kilo ProBat small batch, all grade 1 coffee. I'm very, very selective about the beans that I carry. You will find a lot of love in that bag. So I hope that when you are watching this in the future, you are joining us with a cup of Mortem Labs coffee in your hand.
Yeah, we're going to have a special code for this show for listeners so we can track, how the kind of how effective our advertising campaign is. Because if there is one, I mean, I shouldn't say this, but even though I have my own brand, my own projects, like I'm over the moon stoked on Mortem Labs. Like, how many times have I come to you and been like, "Hey, Mike, I think you should sponsor something. Like, I want to do something, and then I want Mortem Labs to just be like, yeah, because I'm so stoked on it. I just want to put it out there because it brings me so much happiness, and I'm so stoked on it, and I'm excited to just spread the love, so to speak.
Sweet. Well, yeah, so now we're sponsoring the podcast. I love it. And do all the things that he told you to do. We'll see you next time on the official episode 1. And we will bring you guys some gear.
We will have some gear reviews on our next episode, or a gear review at least. And for the format in the future, we may do more than one piece of gear if it makes sense to.
Sure.
Or if it doesn't, we won't. So we're going to keep that flexible so that we can provide the most value to the audience that we can. And then we haven't set the code up yet for Mortem Labs, but when we do, it'll be dropped below.
Pick one.
Cheddar.
All right. So go in.
Thanks for tuning in to
your checkout.
The Field Cheddar Podcast.
That's right. Type in code Cheddar and you will get a discount. And we look forward to seeing you guys on the next episode.
And if you're scratching your head, like, what does Field Cheddar mean? The field is what we would say in the military when we deploy somewhere. Or that's field operations, that's the vernacular there. And then I like to keep it a little bit cheesy and a little bit eclectic. So that's where the cheddar comes in there, because the cheddar is the
good. What was your saying? Stay fresh cheese bag?
Yeah, exactly.
Love it all the time.
Stay fresh cheese bags.
That's right. All right, we'll see you guys next time.
Later.